We're taking the pulse of the entertainment industry, which, of course, is grappling with new, disruptive digital distribution and, at the same time, a resurgence in scripted TV over reality TV. One network that's benefiting from both trends is Showtime. Homeland has had such success. The dramatic series has boosted the network's subscriber base to 22 million from 13 million just 6 years ago, closing a huge gap with HBO, whose paying customers have held steady around 29 million. Now, steering the turnaround is David Nevins, the president of Showtime Entertainment. Showtime series seems to have stolen, David, this cool factor from HBO. So good to have you here. Tell me what's changed.
It's good to be here. The difference, you know, it's about being culturally relevant and being entertaining and being surprising. And if you can just on television be a little bit surprising and not have people not know what's coming, you're going to stay ahead of the pack.
And that's what Homeland's done.
That's what Homeland's done. Homeland had a couple of built-in press pegs to go on. I knew that it was going to come on the air in the fall of 2011. It would be the 10th anniversary of 9/11, and I knew there would be a lot of think pieces being written about where the country's come from a national security perspective, from what's going on, you know, still fighting these two sort of hidden wars. And I knew that people were going to want to write about it, think about it, and it just sort of hit that wave on a lot of different fronts.
David, did you ever envision episodic binging? Was that something that was in your plan? How did that come about? How did it happen? It's
been happening for a while. The pleasure of serialized television. I was involved in a lot of those shows as a producer. 24 worked that way. Friday Night Lights, to a certain extent, worked that way. Also, Dexter always had people would want to binge on the DVDs, and you know, now with all the on-demand platforms, you can go all at once.
Does that help a show? I mean, does it help to create buzz?
What it helps with is it helps people catch up after season one, and you see the snowball effect. Shows come back on our network. They're always bigger in season two and then bigger again in season three because people have caught up over the season. But there's also a phrase that I like, I've heard recently, called tantric television, which is the pleasure of one at a time. Long, slow, the sort of torture of waiting for the next episode. And then what's interesting with the way our shows work is you can do them both. You can save them up and catch up and binge all at once, or you can sort of be part of the conversation. Go.
That actually brings me to my next question, because you guys have been on iTunes since 2006, and I'm just wondering, having the shows there on iTunes, do you think that's brought in more subscribers because they've watched a show, grown to like it, and then said, you know what, I'm going to subscribe to Showtime because I really like this thing on iTunes?
Yeah, I mean, iTunes, DVDs, they all function the same way, which allows you to catch up. Although we make very clear that the only way you can get it in season and be part of the conversation as it's happening is you have to subscribe. So it's our episodes aren't available on iTunes until a year after it's run on our air.
Is there a danger at all as we go more and more to this digital format that it could cannibalize traditional viewership?
We're a subscription model, and I think we've already sort of people like the value proposition of our network. I pay my $8, $10, $12 a month, and it's worth it to get it on a monthly basis. So
David, looking at that model, because I think that's one of the most fascinating things, and you've got great ownership. I mean, CBS and its ultimate ownership and the conglomerate really works together. But if you just take that economic model and you take subs, and you take an average $10 a month subscription payment, what is the average cost of an episode for you to produce in these episodic series?
We're making a range, and one of the things I've done at Showtime is sort of broaden the range so it's not everything fitting one formula. We're spending more on some and less on others. But the typical scripted hour, half hour that we're spending, I would say between $3 and $5 million an episode.
You don't need advertisers, you don't need Nielsen ratings, you know from month to month what you're doing. I mean, it's an amazing economic model, right?
Yeah, we are the steady spot within a complicated organization because we're not advertiser dependent. So there's a steadiness and a predictability to subscription. When things are working well, it can also go in the other direction. But when things are working well, there's a very steady flow of cash. That's why it's a good business.
You know, you mentioned CBS. Let me ask you about 60 Minutes Sports. That sports has been dominated by ESPN. HBO has been very successful in the sports field. Why did you decide to to go forward into that arena when so many other players are already there?
Right. Where you look at places where you can have impact and where we can own something, where we can be unique. 60 Minutes, obviously one of the great brands in the history of television. I feel like we can have impact in sports. So it's not just 60 Minutes Sports, it's also Floyd Mayweather. We're making a big push. Last year was a lot about sort of solidifying our series schedule. This year is a lot about sports and documentaries. So 60 Minutes Sports, we have all the infrastructure of CBS News and instant credibility because of the name.
You know, I was emailing with Jeff Fager, the chairman of CBS, earlier this morning, and one of the points that he was also making to me, which I thought was interesting, is that this is an opportunity to really focus more on storytelling in a way that, say, ESPN doesn't quite necessarily do, and that's something that could differentiate Showtime's.
Yeah, well, we're doing longer form stories, more access, their particular brand of investigative journalism. I don't think you would have seen, it's one of the good unintended consequences of a show like Homeland is it makes Showtime a place where 60 Minutes and Jeff Fager trusts putting their brand on our network. I don't think that would have happened 2 years ago.
Interesting. Interesting.
But now it feels like Floyd Mayweather making the decision, do I trust the rest of my career with Showtime? I feel like where they're going makes it okay for me to go there, 60 Minutes Sports, and they all start, you get in that good cycle of everything sort of feeding into each other.
Let me ask you, when are you going to take over the lead from HBO?
We just keep doing our game. The weird truth of it is when good things are happening for HBO, it's good for us because you think about how you pay your cable bill. A lot of time the subscriptions are running in tandem, so even though we're competitors, when their subs are up, our subs tend to be up.
Makes sense. David Nevins, president of Showtime Entertainment, thank you so much for being here today.
All right. Thank you.
Good stuff.